And I'm ready whenever you are.
It is 7:32. Tuesday, August 1st, 2023. The Historic Town of Eatonville. We're now calling to order the regular council meeting. Mrs. King, would you please do a roll call?
Okay, Councilwoman Randolph. Councilman Marlon Daniels.
Present.
Councilman Washington. Vice Mayor Daniels. And Mayor Gardner.
Please stand for invocation by Pastor Critton, followed by Pledge of Allegiance.
Let us pray. Our Father God, once again, we thank you for this privilege that you've given us to live, move, and have our being. We thank you for your grace and your mercy and your compassion that you have bestowed upon us, God. And it's because of that we are not consumed, God. We thank you again for this community, Edenville. We continue to lift it up before you, God, that you continue to bless it and keep it and cause your face to shine upon it and be gracious unto it. We want to specifically continue to lift up the administration, the leadership of this community, God, that you continue to bless them with the wisdom and discretion and the prudence to make decisions that will be beneficial and advantageous for this community. We also want to continue to lift up each resident of this community, that you bless us to live together with unity and harmony, and we respect each other's personalities as well as properties. We again thank you for this town council meeting where we can come and be further educated and updated on the state and the welfare of this community. We bless you and we thank you again for everything that you're doing in, through, and for Edenville. We honor you, we praise you, we thank you. In Jesus' name we ask it all. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. For the approval of the agenda, there is an amendment to remove item number 5, because that is already in the works. I just want to add something else to it. So with that, I move for the approval of the agenda with the amendment to remove item number 5. It's been moved and second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? All right, the agenda is approved. There are no presentations or recognitions. And we move on to the citizen participation. Mrs. King.
Yes, we have 2. We have Michelle Fort.
Good evening, council and residents. My first comment is on the, I just want to make my voice be known. I think that that hotel is more than just an eyesore. That a hotel represents injustice going on. We drive by. Okay. We drive by and we see what's going on. That hotel, it does a disservice to this community. Children, families are living in a place where we know drugs are being sold there. And we're making a decision to say, we're gonna just continue to look past it? How can we do that to our future generation? We are receiving, well, first of all, I thank God that we are getting federal funding. There was a time when Edenville was not receiving federal funding. And now we're gonna say, oh, we don't want it? When you fill out an application for a grant, you have to list a project. Progress is moving forward. By making a decision to say, well, we gotta go back and look at it, what is that? That's not progress. We have housing of $300,000 plus, but we have a community of residents and some don't have trades. We're just getting old tech coming in here and they're offering trades. This can better the community, not for one, but for all. There's gotta be a point when this council is gonna make a decision in the best interest of all the citizens. It breaks my heart to drive past there. And I don't even wanna go on the inside of it because it looks just like the outside and I'm 40-some years old and nothing has changed. But we allow that, we are just as much guilty of not doing anything about it. The other comment that I have to say is that the moratorium, thank you. It's about time. The residents should not have to pay but what the builders are making money off of the town. You got residents paying for the roads. That's why we don't have any money. We can't afford the infrastructure. For years, we have been allowing builders to make money. The residents shouldn't have to pay for that. It's about time that this council does what's in the best interest of your citizens, not you. We need grants. We need revenue. This town is in a deficit when it comes to our water and sewer. Our rates need to increase. Instead of getting loans, we need to get money. People are starting to believe that Edenville wants progress. It's a shame that the founders did more progress than what we're doing now, and we have technology, we have education, we have books, we have Google to figure this out. But they have made more progress. When are we gonna start working together and working for the people? We can look around the neighborhood, you see the houses. Our young people need housing. Thank you.
We have Ryan Novick. Novak.
Good evening, everyone, mayor, council, residents. Ms. King, if you could, please give me a 30-second warning. Thank you.
Okay.
Just in case, just in case. So tonight I want to talk about solicitation, or the door-to-door solicitation that we have all probably experienced at some point. I'm not going to go into a whole story, but very recently I accepted a solicitation from Lumio Solar. I installed solar, and I just want to warn everyone here about their very unethical sales practices and to be very careful. Even if you spend hours upon hours talking with them, there's probably still something in that contract that you may have missed. So with that, what I want to encourage Edenville to do is adopt a solicitation ordinance whereby companies must register with Edenville to be able to solicit to the residences. That way, we can have on file their standard contracts that we can all then review in our own time. And they're always there and available for us to review. And then we can hold them accountable for A, if they're peddling different things than what's in the contract that's on file. B, if they're soliciting without getting the right approval from the town. And then, yes, this is going to cause a little bit of extra work for the town, but these are all things that will have to be paid for by these companies that want to do business in the town or directly to the residences of the town. If you're not, I've already checked, there are a number of municipalities throughout the country that have such ordinances on books that allow for all of this to happen so that they have to basically pay a fee per solicitor that is in town per day that they're going to be pounding the pavement, for lack of a better phrase, to then talk to the residences. My goal here is to protect the residences from such predatory practices that these very unethical companies can deploy early on in their sales cycle. Additionally, I guess just very fast, I want to talk about the fancy metal detector out there. Everyone that walks through there should be treated the same. You, I, and all of you are no different. And if any one person triggers that and is searched, every single person that triggers that should be searched. No one person is above another who walks through those metal detectors. Not me, not you, not anyone. Please, everyone should be equal that walks through them. Thank you.
We have Marty Sullivan.
Thank you. I want to tell you who I am and why I'm here. My name is Marty Sullivan. I live in Winter Park. I'm here as an individual with an interest, just a community interest in Edenville. I do serve on the commission in Winter Park. I'm not here to represent the commission, but I'm here as a citizen of Winter Park, and as your neighbor, I would like there to be some coordination between our communities. Any way we can help each other and enhance our communication between our cities. our city seal at the bottom says culture and heritage. And I believe that's also true of the city of Eatonville. And one issue I think that your community is wrestling with, and if there's any way that I, as a citizen of Winter Park, can assist with, is the 100 acres of Hungerford land. I think the movement to use that for affordable housing for a community land trust would be the premier use of that land. And I'm not directly involved because I'm not in the city, but I just wanted to share that opinion with you. And thank you for your time.
Thank you. We have no more. That was the last one.
All right, thank you. Next item is the consent agenda. So motion to approve.
Second.
It's been moved in second. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Consent agenda is approved. And the final item, council decisions, approval of U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development grant for the Economic Development Initiative. So I'm going to go ahead and start right here because there were some questions that you asked earlier and I said I would address them. Councilwoman Randolph, and I guess everyone, as board members, I believe in the CRA, I did present this project as one of the grants. The 2 million, along with the policing and the AACH grant, the other $1 million for the COHA. So this was presented to you as a board member in the CRA meeting. Nothing new. In regards to, it was another question you asked. You asked about $4 million. Even in explaining that, I stated that happened around the time you called about, you were talking about the phone calls you were receiving and you didn't like the way that was handled. And I told you then that had I known that's what they meant to do, I would have done it myself because we had just had the stakeholders meeting. And I would have asked the persons there for their support of it. That's that grant. The only difference is the two places I thought about that we can get the most bang for our bucks were those two places. Now, would the owner sell the land? Don't know. But it turned out that those two projects, neither of those projects, the money was for either or, was not one of the ones accepted. And that was kind of verbal. And that is why I said the Elizabeth Park. Do you remember me saying the Elizabeth Park? Probably not.
We never discussed this in the CRA, also for clarification. Remember, it was on the agenda and we took it off.
Discuss what?
The 2 million, this urban was never discussed in the CRA. When we took it off, because it wasn't the CRA, it was.
Wait, you're talking about this. I'm speaking of
Even the 4 million,
the 4 million wasn't a part of it then. I'm bringing this up because Ms. Councilwoman Randolph just brought it up. And I said I would address it to her.
and that's the one from Congressman Frost's office?
I'm sorry, say it again.
Is that the one from Congressman Frost's office?
Correct. That is 3.95 million. And remember I said it was actually a 5.5 million request, but it turned out to be 2 million less. And that was in the Elizabeth Park area. And again, there's no, and the reason that was the viable one was again, because you had the master plans. You had the master plan for the town shop, you had a master plan for the Denton Johnson, and there's also a master plan that exists for Elizabeth Park. So that is one of the reasons those three were chosen. And I said before that I had a choice. I could have said, nah, don't worry about it, I don't want to do it with the council, or I could go for the money. And I went for the money because we do need to remove that eyesore. And that is an eyesore versus, and it was written under the CRA. It's under the town because if you read in the agreement, it states that it's going to go to the municipality that agency is in because we are over the land. That's why it's on the town side. It's in your agreement.
Question for you.
Okay,
Go ahead, Councilman.
But, I hear you, Mayor. But we have not adequately discussed this for council. It seems that you're making a lot of decisions on your own without going through the proper methods.
What is the
Okay,
proper
Well,
method?
well, first
Tell
of
me.
all, you said that this was discussed in the board meeting CRA. What month was that? I would like to research that and find out.
I
get the
can't
minutes.
tell you the month. I can tell you that I think I was sitting up there
And
when I did
then
it.
mentioning about, Elizabeth Park. What's with that? We haven't made any decisions about that.
Nope, you haven't. It's gonna be the same
You-
way.
You're making decisions on your own without following proper procedures.
And you're welcome.
And you can't, you
As
should be, you should
A
not be doing that.
councilwoman,
That is
you are
We are
wrong.
a council.
Councilwoman,
You're
you're
a council.
wrong.
You're wrong, Mayor. I'm
Okay.
sorry, but you're wrong.
All right.
And let's be transparent about this. You taking it upon yourself, to put all this on your shoulders, and then want to bring it before council when everything is done and want us to go ahead and approve this stuff.
So
I don't have a
you don't
problem,
want
I
the
don't
2
have a
million?
problem with any of this, but you have to bring it before
It's
council.
before you.
Mayor, you're not doing it in the
It was
correct way.
presented
We
as
should
a
have had a
project.
workshop or something about this. This is not being done in a proper,
Okay.
respectful manner.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. All right, anyone else? I don't know what else to say. But I do know as mayor, if someone calls me and say, hey, do you have a wish list? I'm gonna say, yes, I do. What is it? Oh, it's this. You don't have 2 weeks, 2 months for you to stall and say, oh, I don't feel like voting on that. Maybe bring it back to us in a month. I don't like the way this, no.
You could have called a meeting within 3 days, we wouldn't be here.
That's not
to
how
help
this
you decide.
goes. That's not how
Well,
this
I'm
goes.
sorry, but.
And I understand what you're saying, but, and
No,
this
you
is the
don't.
part,
You don't understand.
it's not hard to understand. You want to be involved in every single thing that the mayor does, and that's not how it works.
No, not how it works, what
That's
you're
not
doing
how it
either.
works.
That's not how it works,
Okay,
what you're
that's
doing
fine.
either.
Vice
Check
Mayor.
yourself.
My
Make sure.
comment is that if I was asked about the grant writer, writing a grant for some land, it would definitely be across the street. Finding monies that can help us acquire the land across the street, being that it's the biggest lot of land that we have. That would be my suggestion on the grant writer writing that. And as far as the eyesore, that's why we have code enforcement. It's on us as not holding code enforcement accountable to have those little kids in a livable situation, that have to make the landowner keep his property up, pay the bill, have us inspect, make sure you got fire detectors, fire extinguishers in there, and that place is livable. That's on us. And it doesn't take, a grant to do that. It takes our code enforcement and us holding the landowner accountable to make your living conditions acceptable for our residents that are maybe in a tight situation right now that don't have the down payment for an apartment. But since you are providing a living space, make it livable. I'm just like you. I would hate to see the inside of those buildings. I pass by just like you and I see those kids and my heart goes out to see what they may be living in there, I'm not sure. But that's on us to have a code enforcement to hold that person accountable. I think every resource that we have needs to be in trying to acquire that land there so that we can put it out and get developers and put on there what we want and keep the land in the town of Beaverville. And that's the problem I have. Like we're going there, but if the grant writer asks, well, what do you want me to write this grant for? I would say, let's find funds for that big land acquisition of land with the big. That's all I have.
I have a question for Attorney Shepherd.
Yes, ma'am.
Attorney, have you had the opportunity to look at this particular grant?
No, ma'am. I have not an opportunity, I haven't been asked to do it, but I will do it.
You
if I'm
haven't been
asked.
asked to, as the attorney for the town, which this is on the table, you haven't been given the information to review or look at this grant.
No, Mom, I haven't, but that's also very typical. When I'm asked about a grant, it's usually about things like, what can we spend it on, not whether we should apply for it. Because that's a policy thing. So I would be looking at things like, okay, here's the deadlines, here are the things you have to do if you get it. If it's a matching or it's not a matching, and here are the deadlines. So that happens if you make a determination to apply for it and you want that kind of information. But in terms of whether to do it or not, that's pure policy, so that's not my deal.
Okay, but still, you're the legal counsel for the town.
Yes, ma'am, and I'm happy to review it if that's what the
Yeah,
town
okay,
directs me to
thank
do.
you. Because one of the things that I do want, not that I don't trust, but it seems to be conflicting, the information ties these funds into a specific project, and it names the project.
Well,
However, I'm told that that's not the case. So if that's not the case, why put the town Eatonville Smith Hotel as a part of the grant?
That I wouldn't know. I can tell you, generally speaking, there are general grants and specific grants, and some have to be written in a way that is compelling because of a specific project, that a specific grant is designed to fund that type of project. So in that situation, which I don't know anything about this grant, but in that situation, you would name a project like, this is for a park, and we're applying for a park grant, and this is what we plan to do with it, and this is why we need it. Or if it was a general development grant, we want to revitalize our downtown with new streets or new sewer or new wastewater treatment or sewer, stormwater treatment, that sort of stuff, then that would be more general. But again, I don't even know what type of grant we're talking about here. So it can vary. Some can be very specific and some can be more broad.
Okay.
So let me chime in for a minute. Word choice is important. I don't think I've said that I don't want $2 million. That didn't come out of my mouth. It's the choice of where it's being spent at. You got to spend your money in the right location. Transparency is important. And I'll tell you, it's important to be saying all these things today, and I had the opportunity today to be with the Vice President of the United States and Congressman Frost, and I talked to Representative Escamani afterwards. And we're saying all these things up here, and can you believe that came out of their mouth today was, we have never asked for appropriations. Representative Escamani talked to me, we talked for a good 30 minutes today, and she said, we have not asked for appropriations. So to say that we actually go after it and all that, we don't. Because we have the cycle that we can use to get the money, but we don't do it. But then all of a sudden when an opportunity that we think comes available, then we want to jump at it. Who is the benefit? And Ms. Ford, I'll address what you said, that, we don't want to go towards kids and all that. I want kids in a good living condition and all that. But as Vice Mayor Daniels said, if you see something, say something. You don't have to wait for a grant appropriations to come and say, that's the location for it. It's people that we can call. We can call the housing authority. We can call the fire department to come in and do inspections and all that. So what is our intentions? And that's my whole thing. I want us to get the money, but we have to truly vet it. And Mr. Preston has answered, which we had already talked, that this money don't necessarily have to be used for that. So I have no problem with approving the money. I'm just not approving what that project is going to be right now until we actually do fair practices toward it. It's ironic, a lot of these places we have these master plans for them, but who was involved with this? To have all these master plans already ready to go or already to submit. Who is going to benefit? Is it going to benefit the people of the historic town of Eatonville, or is it going to benefit individuals? I'm here to benefit the people of the historic town of Eatonville. So that's why we need to make sure that we're doing things in decent and in order.
Excuse me. Like, let me say it again. That's a blighted area, and that's what grant was for the CRA to go out and to process. And with those drawings, you do have to have a plan when people see when you do work. You just can't talk about it. You have to show paperwork saying this is what you want to see on that property, on anything. Lyndon Johnson, we have a picture of that. We have a picture of a whole bunch of museums. We have pictures. We have to have these pictures, drawings, show these people, this is what you want to do on these properties. They're not going to probably give you no funds you don't have. What you want to do on it? Well, I don't know yet. I just want the money. So my thing is, those drawings, that's what you need. You need a plan before you build a house. You need a plan to give to the town or whatever you're building at. You need that. So before you build, you own the property, but you're not going to go to the town and say, I want to build a house. Where's your drawings? Where's your schematics? Whatever, they're not going to give you no permit. Oh no, I'm going to build a house. So of course, That's what those dollars for. I think the town need to get their land acquisition for that property because it's more than eyesore. It's police out there. Every time I drive by there, they out there most of the time. 9 times out of 10, when I drive down on East Kennedy, they're there. If you ask the chief how many reports he go to at that property, you'll be amazed. Why not just tear it down and go for the future to build something nicer? And that is for the people you can do. That is for the people. So, I mean, so that's what grant writers do. They don't need to come to me and say, I want to write a grant. What you want to write it on? That's what we pay them to do. That's what the problem is here. We have staff, we want to micromanage what they do. Let them do it. If they fail, that's on them. They didn't have to come to this board. But if somebody getting grant money and you sitting next to who got it, what for, who gets it. Now we trying to see, okay, we got our hands in the cookie jar too much. But other projects that I talk about, y'all don't say nothing about. Being transparency. Where's the permits on the board meeting? Where's the permits? Nobody said anything about those projects. Nobody. But you want to be transparent on this here. I had former mayor talk about a project, business apartments down there. Oh, we didn't know that they was in on fixing the lines down there by Pancho. Where's the MOU that we always talk about? Where's the agreement that they did it? Nobody knew about that. So he said it in the meeting down there when we did the apartments. I was like, wow, that went on? But where's the paperwork? But he was glad to say that, but there was Hennessy Company Construction had something to do with fixing that pipe. But where's the MOU? Where's the agreement? Where's in the paper down there dealing on Clay? Because you know I'm hot about that. There's no paperwork down there for that project. And they got over $500,000 of free service that the town citizens have to weigh on. Nobody talking about that. Nobody talking about the $500,000 that we let go by. But we're talking about $2 million to buy some property. $2 million to buy some property. They don't worry about who benefit from it. The town benefit from it. Knock it down, let's build something.
So Councilman Watts, let me address a couple things you said. Let's be clear with everybody. The whole entire town of Gainesville is blighted, according to the CRA, correct?
It's all in the plan.
The whole entire city is
The whole
blighted,
entire
correct?
city is
Okay.
all in the plan.
Something else you said we paid for, what grant writer did we pay?
I said staff. If the staff running,
Go back and listen to the tape, but my last thing is, you said drawings. I love that you brought that drawing up. Isn't there a drawing of the Humboldt property too, with amphitheater and all that stuff like that? I think I recently saw that. There's a drawing that was done also by the CRA, so we could have submitted that in, correct?
of course. I'm not against that.
I read my case then.
It's no case. It's no case, so we don't own the property.
So we could have submitted in the drawings for that property, you saying?
The problem is we should have had that property years ago before you set up here, before I set up here, if we done the right thing. We should have had those properties, the Orange County School Board, years ago for under $3 million.
And it was under contract.
So the thing
That
is,
property was under contract.
so my thing is, people set up here, one doing due diligence, one doing what they're supposed to do. If we want the school board property, we should have got it. Point blank and simple.
Attorney Shepherd, question for you.
Yes, sir.
Hypothetical. So, hypothetical, if we were to purchase the school board property, and then they come back to find out that an injustice was done with the school board property, and it reverts back to the town, we can actually still get the money back if the deal go ahead and go through?
Well, I don't have enough facts to understand the question. If you buy the property, then part of the process typically would be title insurance, in which the company, whoever it was, Tycor, Attorney's Title Fund or whomever, would guarantee that you get good title to the property. So that would be the end of the discussion of ownership. And if there was an issue with ownership, the title company would have to make it right. So that should solve the ownership question. If you're asking, would you get money back if it was yours all along? If I was, quote, selling you the property, I can assure you that in the document selling it, it would be also a complete release of any claims. And so I can't really answer because I don't know enough facts. But if there's a chance that the property comes back to you anyway, it wouldn't be a wise investment to go spend money on. But if you know if it's going to be a fight to get it back and you want to take the possibility of loss out of it, then you go get the property.
So we can discuss that part later. But on the record right now, it is about $2 million to purchase land. That will be used for affordable housing. And in this case, the narrative was mixed use. So either we want to go ahead and move it or not. So the motion to approve the approval of the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development grant for the Economic Development Initiative.
Second discussion.
All right.
So Attorney Shepherd.
Yes, sir.
With the CEO saying that in the document, it states that it doesn't have to be that parcel of land. We can go ahead and pass to get the money and then do anything in this ordinance or in this, resolution need to be amended?
Well, the answer is you could do anything that the grant permits and still stay under the grant terms. I haven't seen the grant, so I don't know what it permits. But assuming that it is open as it was described by Mr. Presley, then yes. As I said, there are different kinds of grants. Some you only get because you say, I'm gonna exactly build this thing in this place on this timeline. Others, you present a plan for redevelopment that's more broad or, has different parameters. And it may be we're going to identify, maybe it's written as we're going to identify property like this one. And if we get accepted, we will revise our plan to specifically what we want. And I don't know which category you fall into, but if I accept the premise that it is open in that regard, then yeah, you could revise it so long as it complies with the terms of the grant.
What, can you tell, or should be able to show it to Attorney Shepherd what page it's on?
I'm going to go to Vice Mayor. Or you looking at me?
I was asking the same question, along those lines, that if it's not, do we table this here for you to read, or can you read it now?
If it's in front of me, I'll absolutely read it now. And
I'll give it to him.
It is free. It's free right
I'd
now.
like to see the portion that.
Oh, no.
Land owner, we can do land. If that's not-
We'll take it to your office. We'll take it to your office. That's another bill.
because there's a deadline, remember? The application. Okay. As long as that's within the parameters, that's within the parameters. Okay. So I will look at the
Please
terms.
go to page 2 of the agreement, page
Is that the grant?
55 in your packet.
Yeah.
Item C.
And what page did you say, 52?
This might be part of it. It's page 55 in your packet. This might help to get it started.
You're looking at the workshop packet,
The
right?
workshop packet,
Yes.
page 55 of the packet.
Item C.
Yeah. It's under C.
C.
When you say-
Okay, yeah, let me just read it out loud so everybody's here on the same page. As you know, I don't attend workshops by your decision.
Wait, one conversation first.
Okay.
All right, as you know, I don't attend workshops, and so I didn't review this packet because obviously, I'm not here for everything. But here's what it says, I'll read it directly from the packet. Project and budget changes. All changes to the grantee's project or approved budget must be made in accordance with, and then there's a federal regulation I won't bore you with, to end this grant agreement. To request HUD's approval for a change in the project or approved budget, the grantee must submit a formal letter to the Director of HUD's Office of Economic Development, Congressional Grants Division, through the assigned grant officer. The letter must be submitted by email to the assigned grant officer, must provide justification for the change. So, assuming so far that you decided to change the project and presented this information to the grant officer to justify the change, then the grant officer might accept the change. The email submitting the letter must also include a revised project narrative, a revised line item budget as applicable that includes the requested change. Now, the reason I want to stop right there is because it points out that you have the freedom to change, and so do they. If you change your mind, they might change theirs. But there is an opportunity for that to happen, to your question.
But we gotta write a letter.
Yes, and then they have to say yes.
And you would also have to present a project to replace that.
So if not, then that to me goes towards this project, in a sense, unless you write a letter to change it.
Yes.
Okay, what you're saying here is specific, project specific, is for the hotel. So that would no longer be the project. We would like the project to be something else.
If that's the.
dealing with land.
Correct. We would have to present that back to them for their approval to change it to something else.
And my suggestion would be, although obviously you haven't asked this question, if you change to something else, you'd want to explain why.
Yes.
Because one of the things that I know that grant reviewers are looking at is, okay, they're looking to not be, put in so many words, baited and then switched, right? That you got our attention, this program, so if you're going to change to a different program, it needs to be equally compelling, and I need to understand not only what, but why. Why did you make the change? But I think if you do that, you have a chance of getting it approved.
Hey, Mr. President, can I ask this question? If you make a change, it still will have to be for affordable housing, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, do you have the email that you allege that you have? Do you have your
It
phone
was-
with, that you can read that to us now? To see what
Again,
it
it was
says?
a conversation with them. I called over to get some more clarification on the parameters,
Right,
and we discussed it. But I can send over an email with the regards to that back to council for their review of that.
So why do we have to?
That's
because we come to the table to talk about what's in black and white,
so
but it's
could,
not presented.
could the approval tonight be, I was just asking,
Yeah.
legal, could you present that?
Yeah, so I understand, as there frequently is a situation with grants, that there are deadlines to let people know you're interested, so they will hold your spot until or unless they want to move on because you moved on. And so, as I understand it, that the deadline, there's some sort of a deadline here. So if you can authorize the town to stay in the queue, if you will, then you can workshop whether you want to do a change to what the vision is or the plan is, but at least you won't miss the deadline. But if I understand correctly, we won't have another meeting before the deadline is missed, right? If we don't agree to continue, at least go down the path a little further. And at the end of the day, if y'all can't agree on what you want to submit, or if you decide to submit something else, you just submit it with the idea that it may not work, but it might, you don't know.
But what's the deadline? We don't even.
I don't
that.
know.
The execution of it is upon us, that the funds are available now for use of the 2 million. That's current. The longer we wait, that could change in the queue of the grant. So that's why we're looking to proceed with that. Now, understand this, that once we approve it, you have the actual grant processes through 2031. So we have
Yes.
time to figure out the details of it, because it's a long haul process but we want to secure those funds now. So that's why I was asking if we could go ahead and approve the funds to be received by the town and workshop what project we do, then we'll decide on that. If we could workshop and decide to still go with the same project based off the information that's presented, or we could decide something else, the council could decide something else, but at least that keeps us on the pace that we're looking at from what we receive.
Well, what you're saying, if that's genuine and it's something that we can work with, I'm willing to buy into that portion.
Mhm.
But I don't want it to be locked in to just buying one particular project as mentioned here. I like to have that flexibility, and we may go back and decide that's what we want to do.
That's what I'm saying.
But let's just talk about it as a council, and we can just go from there, because I can work with just what you just mentioned. I
Absolutely.
can work around that.
Okay.
But we just want to see other options and not to be locked into one particular thing.
And I can work with it going down the pipeline, but let's not forget, we did receive a notice from a lawyer on this exact same property.
Mhm.
So my thing is, how are we trying to enter in purchasing something, and this thing is tied up in legal obligations right now?
Yeah, if you're asking me, I saw the letters.
Mhm.
I didn't have the context. So I saw that there were objections to pursuing it. Don't really know anything about them in terms of whether they're valid, invalid, there's justification for them, or whether the guy's full of hot air. I don't know. But if you want me to look at it, I'll be happy to do that.
Well, this here is not buying, not saying we locking into that particular location. We're saying that we're gonna work with, getting the funds, and we'll be program, project specific later on, because this is executed the moment that the mayor signs it.
Correct. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, it's not like it has a deadline, but it's when it is signed.
Correct.
That's when it starts.
And consider also that we're not the only grantee that's out there, so the funds are available now based off the letter. If we say, oh, we're holding off, and we keep holding off, we could come back and then they say the funds aren't even available. So that's what we're trying to secure with this, with the understanding that we're gonna workshop the actual location
Absolutely.
that we use the funds towards,
No problem.
if that's the pleasure of the council.
That's fine.
So then that's the amended motion that they need to do.
That will be.
We need the motion, the second, and the vote.
We already, good question, Mr. Thomas.
I need to rescind the motion and the second, or just?
Or somebody can
add to
move
it?
to amend the motion and you can accept the amendment. Either way, you end up in the same place.
I move to amend the motion.
What's the amendment?
And as I understood it, the amendment is to approve continuing, I guess I'm going to say, with our position in pursuing the grant, but to workshop at some future date to be determined, I assume through Mrs. King communicating with you all, to
Yes.
come up with whether we want to stay firm with what we've already asked or change it or amend what we're asking, the money to go forward, see if we can get approved.
Yes.
Is that going to get it right?
Yeah.
You got it right.
Okay.
So it's been moved in second with what Attorney Shepherd said being entered into the minutes.
So,
It's been moved in second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? All right. Scales report.
Yes, thanks, Council. Just a few reminders. As many of you know, we had our budget workshops last week. Thought they went well. Staff did a great job, and I appreciate their hard work. We was here just about every night working to present that information. We are still on pace to present to the council by the end of this week the updated information that was requested. And you'll have the line items included in that from our finance department. Also, in regards to the procurement process, just wanted to confirm, we will look at the counties and see what the level of service that is in their procurement policy and ordinance and revise it to match what we need for the town. And we'll bring back the recommended scope of levels of amounts for each division, from departments to the mayor and administration's policy, as well as what we'll bring before the council. So we'll work on that. Also, in regards to the signatures signing, we did meet with Edmunds today. We do have the ability with the current software that we have to do electronic signatures. We're now vetting that process, and we'll probably end up workshopping that to bring it back before council to see if they are pleased with the level of that. It is through the system, and it is vetted. It will save you a lot of time from having to come in and sign. We'll put it back into the administration portion, of which most finance departments for towns and cities do. And we'll work on the process of submitting monthly reports of what's done to council so they can approve and just review what's going on with that.
how did that work? I mean, so you just say, well, I'm gonna put Council Washington.
Exactly. That's what I brought up.
It was several names or one name? I'm trying to figure out all our names.
It wouldn't be all your names. It would be the administration portion, and then we would report to council a regular monthly report on what's been done. As in most councils receive that if so desired. But we'll workshop it and bring it back. I just know now we do have the abilities with the software to do electronic signatures that we can bring back before council. Also, a few other things, the IT study, we are currently vetting that. Last budget was approved for $30,000 to go towards IT improvements. We're working through that budget now, and as you'll see in the current 23-24 budget, there are some items that have been requested in that for approvals as well. To towns as well as to citizens, currently right now, our external lines for our phones are down. So if you've been calling the town, it's going to business signal. So we're working on that with CenturyLinks. As you know, we are in the process of redoing the entire phone system within there, which we just received the right-of-way permits today to start that process. So if you would bear with us on that, but we're still developing live emails as well as those that have the contact information for that. So we're working on correcting those phone situations, just so you're aware of that. There was a notice from I believe it was the chambers that spoke on the Duke Energy workers that are working out on Kennedy Boulevard. We have spoken with them. They are trying to finish that project up. But it's one of those franchise agreements. We have no control over what they do and how they do it. They just let us know they're in the area, and we try to make sure we notify as best we can with that. But I have worked with the chambers to let them know for future instances where that happened. We'll be on point with that. Our next Eatonville Community Stakeholders meeting is August the 21st at 5:30 p.m. The minutes will be going out from that meeting real quickly, real soon. I believe tomorrow is when they're going out. So we have those. That's for our community stakeholders. And I believe that's all I have tonight.
Thank you, Mayor. Just briefly, tonight we had the first meeting of the CRC Advisory Board. I think most, if not all, attend. I don't think we had 100% attendance. We had a good number of people attend to learn about the exciting topics of sunshine law and public records law. Our regular scheduled meeting will be Thursday, and we'll go through Articles 1 and 2. And I think at some point we will get a chairperson there and a vice chairperson, probably the first order of business. If everything goes as it should, we should be finished by the end of this month with their review of the charter and be able to report back to you with thoughts that they might have that you would be interested in. They were attentive. They asked all the right questions, which made me feel really good. I think I scared them appropriately, which is not my goal, but it usually happens. And we'll see how that goes. Secondly, you have all probably heard about and have some knowledge of what's called the Live Local bill that was passed in this past session of the legislature and adopted. And since we were talking earlier about affordable housing, what you should know about it, and this is not a for affordable housing or against affordable housing thing. What you should know about it, though, is it substantially hinders your ability to make a decision in your own interest, because it names things that used to be really relevant, like zoning and comp plans to those things can no longer be the kind of impediments they would have been, so that in your mind, if this is the right place for the housing in this location, and that's where you want it, but somebody else wants it somewhere else, they might win that battle. In fact, I think under Live Local, they probably will win that battle. And so I point this out to you, not only to you know that it is now a thing, but also for you to understand that in an ongoing effort to clip your wings, and literally every municipality out there, your legislature knows better than you do to how to run your town. It's not a good thing. Even if you love the Live Local bill, the premise behind the Live Local bill that you can't make your own decisions is bad government. So FYI, that's my opinion, but I stand by it.
Thank you. Councilman Washington.
No report.
Councilwoman Randolph.
Oh, yes. Thank you everyone for coming out. Just a couple things I have here. As we all know, that school will be starting, I believe it's on the 10th. And, just be very conscious of our children going to school. And speaking of kids, some time ago, I believe it may have been last July, there was a resolution that was passed for the sidewalks. That was, I think this was monies from the Bonaparte Health Foundation. Can we research that? It was like the pathway from Hungerford School Elementary to Margaret Square. I remember we were discussing that at some time, but what happened is that the previous Public Works Director did not get back to the responsible people who wanted to do those improvements for the town, for that location. If we can follow up on that. If you need some information, I believe I may have that information that I can send you the resolution.
Absolutely. We'll research it.
Okay. Also, a cleanup on August the 12th, the Chamber of Commerce, and also cleanup in Lake Lonely. We'll get that information out to the residents on a cleanup for that particular day from 8 to 10. And those who would like to meet at the chamber as a starting point from there, it would be from Walmore Road to where the 3D Tire Company on both sides of the street, and also the Lake Lovely subdivision. The mayor, you had mentioned about Elizabeth Park. I've been hearing different things about someone wanting to put some kind of housing unit at Elizabeth Park. And hopefully, I sure hope that this is not anything to circumvent us not having a swimming pool. But I was trying to figure out where in Elizabeth Park, where this housing or whatever is where is it gonna go? Because you did mention Elizabeth Park, but I have heard something about Elizabeth Park, funding or something supposed to be built there. Trying to figure out how else that all is gonna fit. Also, that's all I have right now, and want to thank everyone for coming out and be blessed. Thank you.
Councilman Daniels.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming out. Real quick, couple things. I'm big on transparency. If we're so transparent, what we went through tonight talking about this housing and urban development grant wouldn't have had to take place. I think just like the council people as well as residents, people want to be informed. If people have information and resources and know what's going on, we want to have all this stuff going back and forth in that direction. So I think, and I'll say to you, Mr. Presley, since you can communicate with all of us, as stuff comes in, let us know. Like I know Ms. Bond sent this out to us later on, but this information was received back in March. We could have already worked through this. For us to get it months and months later, it don't make sense to me. Also, I've had a couple residents talk about the new water bills, and we need to just make sure we're being attentive to it. A couple of older residents have said that they think they were double billed and different things. So I just think we just got to just take time with that. I will be getting back with everybody on a date. I have some doctors and pediatric doctors and dentists that want to come in and do free screenings for the community. I'm gonna see if we can get it back in before they go back to school, but they just want to be able to give back to the community. So I think that's a good deal. Still waiting on information on scholarships. We got $5,000 in the budget for scholarships. Haven't had any leeway on how we're going to give away that $5,000. I think it's important that we invest in the education of our seniors. So if we can get information on that. I'll re-emphasize again my conversation today with Representative Escamani that there is money out there for the pool, infrastructure, and different things. We just got to put in. The next appropriations time is January. So I would say around October, November, we need to be submitted into these Congress people in our rep's office, letting them know the amount of money. Just recently when I talked to her today, she said over $5 million went to some of our surrounding communities. Y'all got like $1 million, but you know, we got to do the research and put it out there ahead of time. Just want to thank everybody for coming out. Keep praying for our community and the safety of our first responders and different people. We're in critical times and it's going to take all of us to get through it. Thank you.
Vice Mayor.
Yes, ma'am. Good evening, everyone. First of all, Mr. Ryan Novak, great idea. Hopefully it's something that we can implement to help save our residents from being preyed upon by solicitors and companies that are trying to take advantage. Still pressing. I keep saying code enforcement is so vital that we need to get these. And I know we're waiting for these guys to get certified or whatever they need to get done, but we have the hotel situation, which we brought up. We have the Diamond Dollar situation. I just think that's such a disservice to us for the appearance of that. I was on that part of the voting part that had the thing out there excited about it. If I had known that now, I probably would have said no. They don't keep that place up with graffiti, trash everywhere you go in the back, stuff boards torn up, you know, we deserve better. And I want to hold them accountable. Also, I see in the church, put trash out on Sunday afternoon. I was passing by. Now we have to watch that Sunday, Monday, and every Tuesday. But it's all part of code enforcement, you know, just riding around. And I keep saying, moving when people move, putting their stuff out early, it just makes our community look bad. And I think that's all on code enforcement. I just can't wait for them to get on board to start implementing these services that, you know, we have to make us look better. Also, kudos as well to the budgetary process. I thought that was a great idea. We got a lot accomplished, and I really appreciate that. And it makes me want to, with this particular situation, put something aside. I had a resident to contact me, and she had a leak, and I guess from the new meters, it was detected. And her bill was kind of over what she thought it was gonna be. She said, Councilman, I went down to pay it, and I knew I was late, and they had turned my water off, and I didn't know it. So she paid it, but she was saying, I haven't missed a payment. I have never been late. Where's the grace? Where is the, thank you for doing that. And, help me out with that. And we're saying a senior citizen here. And I said, that's a great idea. Maybe we can come up as a board with some type of criteria for our seniors that haven't missed, that are maybe going through a struggling period right now with a reconnection or late fee. You can put it in the budget, and I know we don't want to do it for free, and we don't want to, broadcast it, but if we put a little bit aside to help those that maybe are in need, and I'm saying our seniors, I'm not saying able working people, I'm saying those seniors that are on fixed income. We can find some type of help or something to help them when they're running too part-time, just something that look good on our part. Where she says she's never missed and never been late, maybe the first time without new meters. Mr. Sullivan, thank you for coming. I look to repay your favor, coming in and experiencing one of our council meeting. I heard you go along as well, and we have targets as well. So we're not, I look forward to seeing the worst. So thank you for coming. And is Chief Jenkins still here?
I'm here.
I'll see you after this is over. Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.
Thank you, everyone. Mr. Presley, I also want to say thank you every night, every Tuesday. Love the budget process. I want to thank Vice Mayor for holding it down while I was sick. But thank you, very professionally done. Transparency, I can't, if there's nothing for me to say, it's nothing I'm gonna say. When it's time to say something, I have to say something. When we talk about transparency, we have to be open. There is no better spot to purchase than that eyesore. None. The only reason that you would not purchase that is because there is a 40% owner of that someone wants to get the 40% ownership. When there is real estate to be had, there's money to be had. The love of money is the root of all evil. Don't be fooled, because the purchase of that property is not 100% for one owner. The purchase of the property is 6% majority owner and 40%. The fight is with the 40 for the 40%. And the person that doesn't want us to purchase that has a connection. So if we're going to be transparent, let's be transparent. I would love to take $2 million and go buy the 100 acres. However, every citizen, people driving by say something about that particular location. It rings to be purchased, and we have the opportunity to do that. It's about nothing else for me than to purchase that property. Nothing else. So I have to put that out there. Know all the players. Know all the players. To answer about the Safe Roads project going on from Winter Park to the Hungerford property, the prior Public Works Director, he did get that done because it came before the board and we approved it. And I signed off on that. Thank you all the public participation. Everybody have a good night. Oh, I move that we adjourn.
So moved.
It is 8:31. Meeting is all opposed, nay. Meeting adjourned. There we go.
And I knew it was coming, that's why I said, let me pull out my paper.
You said it. Take that to the office.